What's going on? What's going on, people? I'm dropping this video, the business of boxing. I'm dropping this because some of the points I made in my last video, Marquez scores double KO. Some people didn't agree with, and I got a feeling they didn't really understand what I was talking about. In that case, one of the people that didn't agree with a lot of the points that I made, well, some of the points that I made. If you want to see his video, put a link to his video right down here in the description box. When I watched your video, I hear you and I understand. But my perception of what I saw from your video was judging it from a fan's perspective and not the business of boxing. This guy, Stages of Yusuf, he was basically saying that Mayweather didn't need Pacquiao, and he's such a big draw. Basically, this is in a nutshell. He's such a big draw, and everybody wants to fight him anyway, and he never needed a Pacquiao for a draw. I completely disagree. It's the reason he made 84 million last year. Well, I keep saying last year. It's the reason he made $84 million in 1 year. It's a chunk of those people that hate him, that buy his pay-per-views, are Pacquiao fans. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to gross money, period. But he's going to take a knock on his pay-per-view buys. Because now that Pacquiao has been put out of his misery, the hardcore Pacquiao fans can hate Mayweather all they want. But will they buy Mayweather pay-per-views knowing that a fight, for the most part, will never happen at this point? No. Will they tune in just to see if he could possibly lose? Why? He's not going to fight Pacquiao. That takes away from Mayweather overall pay-per-view buys. Now, do you remember when Pacquiao was using Mayweather by going after everybody that Mayweather had fought that he could and trying to knock him out as fast as he can? Mayweather did that to a degree. When Mayweather took his hiatus for almost 2 years after beating Oscar De La Hoya, who was the biggest draw outside of Pacquiao at the time when everybody was saying, ooh, Pacquiao this, ooh, Pacquiao that, ooh, 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 ooh. The biggest draw was I'm watching the game too while I'm doing this, Pats and Texans, but who was the biggest draw outside of Pacquiao? That would have been Miguel Cotto. Did he go after Miguel Cotto? No. The first person he fought when he came back was the one guy who always gave Pacquiao fits. Juan Manuel Marquez. A guy who was campaigning basically at 135. Came up as close as he could get to 147. Wow. He as close as he could to 147, and Mayweather jumped in the ring. Now, you don't think Pacquiao fans who hate Mayweather didn't tune into that fight to see what Marquez can do against Mayweather or possibly beat Mayweather, considering he's always gave Pacquiao problems? Yes, they tuned in. Mayweather used Pacquiao. Now, when it was nobody left to fight, who did Mayweather finally fight? Miguel Cotto, who was at the decline of his career. You don't think, to a degree, Pacquiao fans who hate Mayweather tuned into that fight to see what Miguel Cotto could do against Mayweather? Yes. Pacquiao has made a name off of Mayweather, and Mayweather has made some money off of Pacquiao. That's the business of boxing. Now I'm about to break down every single person you said from a, to me, what I consider a fan perspective, which every fighter says, I want Mayweather because they want that big payday. It's not about trying to beat Mayweather. It's about getting that big payday. But here's where the business of boxing comes in. First, we're going to talk about Timothy Bradley. Mayweather could never fight Timothy Bradley. Timothy Bradley is with Top Rank. And since Mayweather does all his business with Golden Boy, that basically takes Timothy Bradley off the table. Now, if he was to push for that fight, he'd end up with a whole lot of backlash. Because he's always stated that he had a bad relationship with Bob Arum. Bob Arum owed him money from back when he used to fight under Top Rank. And Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy doesn't have a good working relationship with Top Rank. So you could put that fight together, but you can't put Mayweather and Pacquiao together a few years back. The backlash he would receive from that fight would definitely hurt sales. This same can go for Juan Manuel Marquez. Because if you think back, when Mayweather fought Juan Manuel Marquez, he was under the Golden Boy banner. Juan Manuel Marquez went over the Top Rank so he could get the fights with Pacquiao. So at this point, if he gets in the ring with Marquez, you mean to tell me Golden Boy and Mayweather can have a working relationship with Top Rank to put Mayweather and Juan Manuel Marquez in the ring, but you couldn't do that with Pacquiao? There'll be backlash for that fight too. It's not happening. Now let's get to Robert the Ghost Guerrero. He does not have a name for himself. He does not have any credibility at this point in his career. He just moved up to the welterweight division, 147, and hasn't had a legitimate win yet. Ortiz put the blueprint out for Andre Berto, and basically Robert the Ghost Guerrero did the same thing. Was it really any excitement in that fight? No. So you got to think about it. Andre Berto and Victor Ortiz was one of the most exciting fights a few years back. It was so exciting that Victor Ortiz went from a quitter when he got knocked out by and quit against Lucas Batiste to back to a legitimate fighter because that fight was so exciting. It just pushed him up into the upper echelon of notable names. That's why Mayweather jumped in the ring with him. Has Guerrero did anything to make that possibly happen? No. In order for Guerrero to even get a big enough name for Mayweather to generate pay-per-view buys, to be considered a credible competitor, he would have to at least beat Devin Alexander, who is one of the champions of the division. Now, at this point in time, Devin Alexander doesn't even have the name to warrant a fight with Mayweather. And he can't go after Timothy Bradley because Robert Guerrero is with Golden Boy, and Golden Boy still hasn't established a working relationship with Top Rank. So that takes Timothy Bradley completely out. Let's keep going. Remember, this is not a fan perspective. This is the business of boxing. Canelo Alvarez with Juan Manuel Marquez at the tail end of his career. Canelo Alvarez is destined to be the next Mexican icon. It's destiny. He will probably, if his career goes right, he will probably be bigger in this social media age than Oscar De La Hoya ever been. And he got the right person behind him to make that happen in Oscar De La Hoya. And why I say he destined to be bigger is because Oscar De La Hoya was a Mexican American. Canelo Alvarez is from Mexico. Not that that matters to the average boxing fan, but in the Latin community, it does. So if Canelo Alvarez, at this point in his career, starts impressively beating and clearing out his division and the junior middleweight division, he's good. Now he's also a big junior middleweight. So once he clears out the junior middleweight division, he can easily go up to middleweight and see if he can do the same there. And if he keeps impressively knocking people out, that's the tops of those divisions, he's going to be a star, flat out. He does not need a Mayweather to make that happen. Oscar De La Hoya knows that. So it serves no purpose to even sign a contract with Mayweather to make that happen. Because at the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez could do whatever he wants. But if he wants to keep Golden Boy as his backer, he has to concede to what their wishes. That's the business of boxing. Now let's go back to Adrian Broner. You said people have been talking about Adrian Broner fighting Mayweather. Well, here's two problems. One, 50 Cent is pushing for, as of this past weekend, 50 Cent is pushing for Adrian Broner to fight Yuriorkis Gamboa. And that might possibly happen. But outside of that, Adrian Broner is barely campaigning at junior welterweight. He has to clear out some people in junior welterweight and then go up to welterweight and establish himself in the welterweight division to be considered credible competition for Mayweather. By the time that can happen, Mayweather will retire. Because you got to keep in mind, Mayweather said 2014 he's done. In February of 2014, he'll be 37 years old. How much longer do you really think he's going to fight? That's the business of boxing. So, when I say the biggest name out there that he can legitimately fight is Sergio Martinez, because there's nobody in the way of that. Lou DiBella can work with Golden Boy, because Lou DiBella could work with Top Rank. That's the only credible fight for a credible, worthy opponent that would generate pay-per-view buys that Mayweather can fight right now. And as awkward, and even though Sergio Martinez is a small middleweight that can still campaign at junior middleweight, he's still really big for Mayweather. That'll be a very tough fight for Mayweather. Simply put. So now let's jump over to the Pacquiaos and the Marquezes. Since I've pretty much put all that to rest for Mayweather. Mayweather has no options that will actually work outside of Sergio Martinez. And for him to fight Sergio Martinez, I don't see that really happening. Now for Juan Manuel Marquez. At this point in Juan Manuel's career, he has accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish in the sport of boxing. He finally got his vindication against Pacquiao. There's nothing left for him to do in the sport of boxing. He can retire and enjoy the rest of his life and be praised in Latin America for finally getting the vindication that he deserved 2 fights ago. At least 2 fights ago. So, if he did stick around, if he did stick around, who is he going to fight? It's only really two credible names in Top Rank as of right now. That's Timothy Bradley for belts that mean nothing to him. Those belts will not do anything for Marquez's career. Or fight Pacquiao for a fifth time. That's it. Do we really need to fight Pacquiao for a fifth time after putting him to sleep? No, not at all. Now for Pacquiao. Pacquiao has accomplished pretty much almost everything he wanted to do in the sport of boxing. He has so much going on outside the sport of boxing. Unless his money is funny, he don't even need the sport of boxing at this point in time. Let's keep in mind for the fact that his contract expires with Top Rank Bob Arum in 2013. So one more fight basically, and he's done. He can only fight one person, and that's Juan Manuel Marquez. He can't fight Timothy Bradley because he let it out in the media that Juan Manuel Marquez is a bigger draw than Timothy Bradley. So even as it stands right now, Marquez is still a bigger draw for Timothy Bradley. And if he went after Timothy Bradley anyway, he'll get backlash because it'll be looked at as he's scared to fight Juan Manuel Marquez. So his only options is to fight Mayweather, basically. That's if Mayweather even wants to make that fight. And it's not going to generate the money that it would have generated back when he was still undefeated. Or fight Marquez. Believe me, Bob Arum has no problem putting on that fight again and have the Pacquiao Marquez fifth fight. So what does he do at this point? He's irrelevant as a boxer at this point in time because his options aren't there. His options are not good. He's going to get backlash for even trying to get his belts back in vindication from Timothy Bradley for not fighting Marquez. And he'll probably lose that fight. He could possibly get knocked out by Marquez again. Or he could lose to Mayweather. In all three scenarios, that don't help him. And at the same time, that's if Marquez doesn't retire. Mayweather, I already broke it all the way down for you. So basically, it is what it is. You got to take out the fan perspective when you look at the grasp of what is all going on in the sport of boxing and in the business of boxing. All three careers are done. Mayweather does, unless he's broke, does not need to fight anymore. And he really doesn't have a credible option. Pacquiao doesn't have a good option. And unless he's broke, he doesn't need to fight anymore. Juan Manuel Marquez has finally got his vindication. He can go out like a G. He doesn't have to fight anymore. It's basically a retirement party for the top three fighters in the sport of boxing. It is what it is. Oh, I don't think I mentioned it earlier. Mayweather has one other option besides Martinez. He could fight Cotto again, since some people felt that Cotto fought him tough. Do I see that happening? Nah. Because unlike Luis Castillo back in the day, where people said, "Oh, he beat you," and that wasn't the case this time. It was he fought him tough. He didn't beat him. He fought him tough. So will Mayweather opt for a second fight? I doubt it. Again, his only option is Sergio Martinez. But again, as always, this is my opinion. Nothing more. Take it like you want it. I mean, take it how it is or whatever have you. It's just my opinion. But I'm gonna get out of here so I can watch the end of this Pats and Texans. I'm a Pat fan. Go Pats, Tom Brady. And until the next one, deuces.